Good evening, agents. Welcome to No One Lives Forever 2, A Spy in Harm's Way. The follow-up to No One Lives Forever 1, obviously. The game has a different sense of humor. It's still good. Also has quite a few different gameplay changes, most of which are for the good. I am playing with a widescreen patch to fit modern resolutions, which will have a few graphical glitches, but not too many. But without too much ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Excuse me, miss. The director has requested an audience with you. Right, well, just tell him you'll be along shortly then.
Mother, you can't keep calling me at work. I have an operation to run.
What am I supposed to do? You're never at home. How do you expect me to get in touch with you? Carrier pigeon?
Look, I've got to go.
I haven't even told you why I called.
Yes, well, maybe next time you'll get to the point instead of lambasting me for a quarter hour.
Don't you hang up on me, do you hear me?
I need a drink.
You wanted to see me?
Mr. Volkov has requested your services. He's expecting someone to crash our little party tonight. He wants you to make our uninvited guest feel at home. Permanently.
When will my debt be paid, Sensei?
When I tell you it is. I promise we'll talk about it further, but first, Kate Archer must die.
If you want to read this, you should probably pause it. Sorry.
I'll wait for you here.
If I'm not back in an hour, clear out and contact headquarters.
It's not like you to be cynical.
Call it a hunch. Something about this assignment feels wrong. Wish me luck.
Hattori-san is waiting for you somewhere in the village.
So obviously the graphics have undergone somewhat of an update. We start out with our trusty crossbow and a spy camera and a key light. And here's one of our first major differences between the first game and the second game. Our menu screen now includes, in addition to the mission, equipment, and inventory, we can now look at the intelligence we pick up in the middle of a mission. Oh yeah, in the equipment screen you can swap between your different ammo types here as well. It does give you the benefit of being able to pause the game. But you can check out your intelligence if you have any, and most importantly, there's now a player screen. Whereas in the first game, when you picked up intelligence at certain thresholds, you would gain additional health and armor. This time around, the game will, you'll get points whenever you pick up intel objects or complete mission objectives, and that will let you upgrade Kate's abilities. Of course, this first area serves as something of a tutorial, so, you know. I should mention that Santa has a much larger speaking role this time around.
It's me, Santa! Say hello to the Mark 7 mechanized miner bird. Perfect way for me to communicate with you in the field. Now then, anything I can do for you? If you're unsure what to do next, consult the mission status screen. Unless an objective is marked optional, you must accomplish it in order to complete your mission. On certain missions, you may also receive parameters, which are general guidelines or rules of conduct. Violate them at your own risk. That covers the basics. Anything else? The equipment screen shows you a complete list of the weapons and gadgets you're carrying. Choosing an item from this list will bring up a detailed description and a summary of available ammunition types or gadget
Of course, the game still does have quite a few pieces of intelligence, most
Look
of which
for
will...
messages from him.
A lot of times they'll be
I'm
pretty funny,
Tori-san.
but
He can help you with your
sometimes
mission.
they'll give you valuable
Good
mission
luck.
information. You can also talk to, this little intel piece gives you information on the ninjas, which are the primary enemies we'll be facing here. They mostly use katanas, they also have shurikens. But Yamada-san there can demonstrate that we can actually talk to people multiple times, usually to get more information. Most of the pieces of intel we'll find will either be funny or they may offer mission information.
You can gauge your accuracy by your crosshair. The more blurred it becomes, the less accurate your shots will be. Rapid movement will tend to foul your aim.
So, first things first, we have this foil package. These will be field equipment, usually. They usually contain goodies. In this case, it just contains coins, which, of course, can be used to distract guards. We'll be using these in a much later mission. Trust me, there are still some forced segments in the game, though the stealth is a bit changed, so it's simultaneously easier and more irritating. You'll see. In the meantime, they did briefly talk about the crosshair here. As compared to the first game where you never really had an idea of how much movement might be throwing off your crosshair, this game you can see the blurred crosshair, and also there is a skill to decrease the blur.
Give you away, but you can sneak to tread softly. Keep in mind that certain materials, such as ceramic tile, magnify sound, whereas surfaces like grass or snow will dampen your footfalls. Also, be careful not to knock over bottles or bump into wind chimes, or you'll cause a disturbance.
One of the primary changes in terms of gameplay, you now have to search enemies to get their weaponry. I'm not 100% if you can, if there's an option to automatically loot bodies, like pick up the obvious gun when you run over them, but I don't believe there is. Obviously, searching enemies takes time. It can give you ammo, and it can sometimes give you additional pieces of intelligence that they may have been carrying. The crossbow, of course, is as lethal as ever. It's not 100% accurate. That is another skill that can be increased as your accuracy, your swap speed, a few different things. But generally speaking, no matter what weapon you're
Try
using,
to dispatch enemies when they're unsuspecting. If they see you, they'll cry out, attracting attention. Also, don't leave bodies lying around. Move them somewhere out of the way.
yeah, if you can hit enemies when they're unaware, generally it will kill them nearly instantly. But the crossbow, I mean, if you hit somebody in the head with it, it's pretty effective. Also, instead of requiring the use of the body removal powder, we now have the ability to move bodies. And here's another new gameplay feature. Hiding is now much more obvious. When you are in certain areas, usually somewhere in shadows, you'll see an eyeball icon, and if you stand still or move slowly, that icon will fill up, and when it is complete, you're hidden.
Enemies will eventually notice you though, so don't be too long.
This, I think, is one of the more important skills to upgrade pretty quickly, because it takes a long time to hide right now, but at higher levels it takes a fraction of a second. Enemies are not blind, although they will not immediately see you if you stand out for a bit. The game has also introduced leaning, and if you lean around corners for a short period of time, you'll have time to look at enemies before they can alert on you. But if you lean for too long, they will become alert. Of course, from all these enemies, we have been picking up katanas, a few crossbow bolts, and shurikens, the original fidget spinners. And those are all weapons we can be using later. The katana is a melee weapon, which, lets you slice and dice fools. That's what a katana does, right? The shurikens are an alternative to the crossbow right now. They fire a little bit faster. They have more, what's the word? Nope, missed a piece of intel there. Doesn't matter, I think that one was just talking about armor. Oh well. But yeah, shurikens, you can hold 3 of them at once so you don't have to bother reloading after every shot. The downside is that they do slightly less damage, but if you're being super sneaky, you don't have to worry about that. And of course, in No One Lives Forever fashion, enemy communications are back.
I'm hungry.
You just ate.
I can't help it. I eat when I'm stressed.
Why are you stressed?
I have a bad feeling about tonight.
You're worried about one little spy?
What? No! Kenji-san asked me to meet him later. I think he wants to break up.
My grandmother said you should poison your man every morning before he leaves. Tell him he can have the antidote when he comes home.
What poison should I use?
I'm sure my grandmother can give you something. She doesn't need it anymore.
She's not worried about your grandfather running away?
He can't. He's paralyzed. You have to be very careful with the dosage.
As I said, the humor in this game is a little bit different, and it does take a little while to spice up, but it'll get there.
Are you all right?
So something enemies will do if they see other bodies has come to investigate it, obviously. And if they see you, they'll try to sound an alarm. In the Japan area, there are these little wooden outcroppings on the buildings. In different areas, there'll obviously be buttons on the wall or something like that. But I can pretty much guarantee you will be hearing a lot of alarms because I'm not very good at stealth in this game. That being said, it's not like No One Lives Forever 1 where once the alarm goes off, it's going off forever, and there's no way to turn it off. The alarms actually will turn off, and you can't. If you hide from guards long enough, they will leave, which is nice. Another big gameplay change: we have area transitions, for larger zones.
Do you want to go shopping in Nagoya this weekend? I can't. I have an assassination. Get Haruko to do it. She's still mad at me about her cat.
What about Yuki?
I'll ask her.
Let me know.
My god, I'm gonna try so hard not to say you can ask her in hell, but it's going to be difficult, because it's been like 2 years and I still kind of have that wired in my brain.
What happened?
So our mission here is kind of indicative of what we'll be finding in a lot of these open area segments. They are fairly large maps, but what we'll usually have to... Oops, I skipped over that one. Just a second. But yeah, this first area is kind of indicative of what we'll find in a lot of the open areas. Is you'll usually have some sort of mission that requires you to find something. In this case, we need to find our code breaker so we can decode these question mark notes. And this will be a running theme through a lot of the missions throughout the game. Usually there will be some mission objective that we have to find something new for, or we have to perform a certain series of tasks before we can finish our mission objective. I think it might be a side effect of running this on a modern computer. Sometimes the video will get a little bit choppy, and well, it's not just the video, it's the gameplay will visually get choppy. I don't think I can do anything about that, so I apologize ahead of time. Anyway, there are 4 of these question mark notes around the village, and when we get close enough to look at them, they will be marked on the map, so that's handy. But it's all kind of useless to us until we find the code breaker. This area is also something of an introduction to the concept of Well, there's a limited number of guards to start with, but as you progress through the mission in this area, more guards will spawn in. There is actually the next mission in the game in Siberia, spoilers. Guards will kind of constantly spawn, and it can be kind of irritating. Because you can never, as soon as you walk into a certain area, more guards, more guards, more guards. It's kind of impossible to clean them out, and that sucks.
What happened to your arm?
I got in a fight with my mom.
Looks like she cut you pretty badly.
She caught me by surprise. She's fast for her age.
She must have been really mad.
She thinks we don't dress properly for ninjas. I'm like, Mom, it's the 60s, get used to it. And she's like, it's disrespectful. So I said, old people always say that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, she went kind of crazy. She came flying across the room and started slashing at me. Finally, I fought her off, but I was worried I was going to accidentally stab her. That would have made her really mad.
You better buy her some chocolates or something.
Good idea.
Of course. Chocolate solves everything. Unless you're dead. So something else I should mention about when guards see bodies that are on the ground and dead, what they'll do is they'll kick the body real quick, make sure, oh no, it's dead, how could this have happened? But what they'll do after that is they'll actually disappear the body, and the way every subset of enemies do it is different.
What's wrong?
If the enemy bodies are disappeared, then you won't be able to search them for any.
How did you escape?
You won't be able to search them for any supplies. In fact, you'll see that here in a second. The way the ninjas do it is smoke bombs.
Sound the alarm! You're in trouble now!
And here's an immediate case of, oh, the alarm was sounded, so now I better hide. But I'm not scared. I have a sword.
Where are you?
Of course, most of the ninjas are not going to die that easily. The katana actually does fairly low damage. Not really low, but kind of low. Of course, when you hear something you can run into, like those wind chimes, you'll hear them usually jingle around before you have a chance to run into them. If I go through those intel pieces too quickly, I apologize ahead of time, but it's probably not something I'll be able to fix. We did find a scope, and the scope allows us to zoom in, though because of the widescreen patch it appears a little, you can still see the outsides of the scope, where it normally should be a little more narrow, but, well, you know, trade-offs. Widescreen versus clean scope lines. Personally, I'm going to go with widescreen. But if we search around a bit here, we can find a fancy gadget, the Angry Kitty. The Angry Kitty is a proximity mine. It's also a very distracting proximity mine. We'll see it a little bit later. You'll enjoy it. And of course, ninjas being as agile as they are, they can leap from rooftop to rooftop. It's not the prettiest thing, but it's neat. As you go around the missions, you'll sometimes encounter new objectives. In this case, we just happen to find this briefcase that we need to give to Hattori-san, which we'll be finding him here as soon as we decode all of these notes around the village. And that's all of our, oh, hello.
Sound! Oh!
Goodbye. That's all of our Unity Field Manual pages for this level. I did miss one on the last level, so shame on me, I missed out on maybe 100 or 200 point bonus, but it's not terrible in the long run. But here's our first gadget, the Codebreaker. We can equip it manually, or you can, if you're facing something that requires the use of it, you can hold down the action button to automatically pull it out and use it. But we do have enough points to upgrade our first skill, and I'm going to go ahead and upgrade the gadgets. Everything in this game that requires doing an action, like searching or using gadgets, requires the action bar. And the faster that ticks down, the faster it gets done, obviously. We're going to be using quite a few gadgets, and although the letter is completely decoded here, it doesn't actually go into your intel file as far as collecting intelligence and give you skill points until that bar empties out. So the faster that gets done, the happier I am. But that was our first piece of intel, and the other three will tell us exactly how to find Hattori-san. That is the candy shop he's located in. The question is, how do we signal him? And decoding the rest of these notes will tell us exactly how. I should also note, if I may, that the music in this game is somewhat dynamic. If enemies become alert, you'll hear the music change slightly, and if enemies are actively on you, the music will pick up even more. It's just a neat little touch. And every level does it. Every level has a fairly unique way of making the music happen, but it also, they've got neat little touches to them. But we figured out where we need to go and what we need to do. We need to open this blue mailbox and the red mailbox, and that should let Hattori-san know we're here.
Agent Archer, over here. I have bad news. They've moved the meeting. You'll have to find out where.
So for delivering the briefcase, we got a chunk of points, and for completing the first portion of this mission, we also got 400 points, which gives us enough points for another upgrade. Now these amateur upgrades aren't very significant, but once you get up high enough, it goes from starting at 100%, which is just your default speed, to being 400%. Now at this point, more enemies have spawned in. Despite what Hattori said, the only way we'll be able to, if you talk to him, he says, maybe you can find some ninjas talking, or maybe you can find a note. In this case, we're going to have to find the note, but it is next to a whole bunch of ninjas, which will give me a pretty good chance to show off the Angry Kitty. This was actually my first time using it. I was kind of I thought I was going to have to lure people to it, but it works out all on its own.
A cute little kitten.
Oh yes, it's cute. Cute enough to die for.
Get up! I will avenge you. I know you're here somewhere.
In addition to disappearing the bodies, enemies will also briefly search around the area to see if they can find anybody.
I know you're here
Or if they can find a bolt in the eye. You know, it's like the same thing. Sometimes your crossbow bolts will break when you fire them, but usually they're recoverable. Usually. Of course, not every enemy will have something useful. If you see something like you found a dirty toothbrush, or you found a a moldy red bean bun, that just means that the enemy could have been carrying intel, but you already found it all. Or it could just mean they were carrying dumb crap.
Are you all right?
Nobody saw that. I totally hit him on the first shot. I mean, as far as she's aware, I did hit her on the first shot. Those different things you find on bodies will be tailored to the areas as well. So around Japan you'll find wooden charms against evil, or red bean buns, or things along those lines. But with the new location in mind, we can now return to Hattori-san and complete our mission for now. So, please join me next
Good
time.
work. I'll mark the location of the meeting on this map.
When we go in and take a picture of the meeting.
Okay, follow me.